You know what I'm really impressed by is it's 2:20. We started at 8:30, and everybody's energy is still pumping and excited and happy. And man, what are we going to do on Wednesday, right?
We're going to drop and give her not 20 but 30.
All right. Little baby. Little baby. So that was a long distance call from my son in Israel. He's run out of money a week early. But he does have a 7-year plan. He's going to come home and unfold for an attention deficit dyslexia that just barely graduated from high school. So I'm waiting for these people. Okay, is everybody here now?
Way to go.
All right, so I have to tell you, I'm very excited about a lot of things. A lot of us have been at this game for a long time. When we officially cohesed Literate Nation and started working, it's really only been 2 years. And in fact, it's really only been the last year. And one of the things that we have been doing is we had a beta for trying out some of our experimental stuff that we thought was going to work, and it was Alaska. And I'm really heartened when somebody said something to me about, well, have they done this and have they done that? And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's exactly what has been in our plan. And one of the things that you'll notice in your little folder is we did a survey, and we did it through the IDA National, and we did it with a group of other people. And basically what it said to us is the work that you're doing is working, further validated by questions I was asked about, well, have they done this and have they done that, and seeing that what we've done worked. We did the beta webinar with Alaska. I had a conversation with them, and then I walked them through the presentation that was presented in Baltimore, which is all the background knowledge that people need to implement instruction. So that parents that don't know a heck of a lot, but they need that science, get it from Marianne Wolf, get it from Margie, get it from Sandra Stotsky on teacher knowledge standards. So we were able to do that, and hopefully it's going to become a webumentary with their own voices. And what that means is we'll have the information and we'll have some educational clips and other things to make it more interesting than a lot of webinars that are just talking heads, because that's boring to me, and I'm easily bored, frankly. So what we really wanted to look at was the lesson learned. And in fact, I don't need to go through this because everyone going around the room shared exactly what the lessons learned were. You know, what we know based on what you all are saying, that we're on the right track. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through these answers because in fact you all already stated this. I think that the go-to lessons for us were planning, team members, expertise. What are your strategies and how are you going to implement them? When I follow the Decoding Dyslexia folks, I think, oh my goodness, I hope we can get us all on the same team, because nobody has to recreate the wheel. And I'm guessing that in this room there's probably 30 people who would say, who have some point had said, I don't want anybody else to have to go through what I went through with my child. Right? And I think that what we're doing very successfully at Literate Nation is drawing all that expertise together again. So nobody 5 years from now, we're 3 years from now, 5 years from now is going to have to go through that with their child. And I think that's really heartening. So I wrote down what I can't miss. How do we include everyone? And one of the key things that we look at and we talk about is what are the groups and what are the areas of interest and what are the issues in your community. So I think Margie gave us a great example talking about the Puerto Rican community. In my community, in my town, it's the business community. The legislation that was pushed through didn't come from education. It came from the Chamber of Commerce. It came from the business community. There were a lot of pieces that they said, wow, that sounds like a really great idea because that's what Jeb Bush did. And now because Patty is so visionary and so insightful and has been so, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, keep going, it's okay.
Okay. She did a project, and I didn't know her. I walked into a school, 2 schools, 85–90% free and reduced lunch. And I saw schools on fire. I saw teachers on fire. I saw kids on fire. the wrong pipe. I saw instruction that was the way instruction should look, where everyone was engaged. I saw principals that were so kick-ass. It was like, and I'm like bouncing and saying, how do we promote this? But in fact, it's a challenge when you've got two schools in a state with 255 schools.
170, 186 schools.
186
in
K,
in that district.
In that district.
Yes.
Where in the building next door they might be doing an LLI or a whole language program. And it was hard to get that kind of acclaim. So I think that we can lift all of us up in a way and promote those best practices. And I think that, you know, again, so we integrate all of those communities, from the business people to the mom and pops who aren't happy, to the parent effectiveness training, the parent centers, the centers that the feds support. We've got it in Colorado, it's called the Peak Parent Center. Every state has a parent center that's federally mandated. Every state has a special education commission, advisory committee that's federally mandated. Every state has universal things, but then we really need to be conscious about our areas of need so that we can then target them. And it's going to be different from state to state. And one of the things when we were looking at not Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, not Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. All the but when we looked at the state data, there was some really, really clear information there, which is if you are a student in special education or a student in poverty, you will start out at it the 35% passing rate on their state assessments, and you will end at an 85% failure rate on their state assessment. So you're seeing within their data that those are the parents that hopefully we can reach, or the interest groups that are saying, holy moly, those are our kids that are heading to jail. And you know, we all use this, you know, 4th grade reading scores and prison bed. I'm sure you used that one in your conversations. So we have that. So in terms of what Stuart was asking, is I think part of our research, which is essential to finding our constituency, is finding out where those failures are and where the people who care are. And again, different from state to state. When I talk to Posey, when we talk to her state, there are like 3 or 4 people. And I'm like, wow, you know, there's probably 50 people in Colorado. You know, in Philadelphia, they understand the dynamics. So that research in terms of what you want to accomplish is really, really critical. I think for me, the biggest thing is we're talking about politics. We're not talking about kids. So when we're talking to politicians and a governor wants to be a senator, and the Chamber of Commerce is a big mover and shaker in the state, and he wants to make nice to them, and suddenly you notice the conversation is a little bit different than about kids. So while it's essential to keep it about kids, you really have to become stainless steel about politics. And frankly, I hate it. I'd rather sit with a 7-year-old and have them smile at me because they can read suddenly, or, you know, whatever word it is they couldn't read yesterday. But I think, you know, what Phyllis is saying, we've got to be stainless steel when we walk in there and know that our hearts are where they need to be and play the game the way it needs to be played. And Stuart's going to help us with that because that's one of his gifts. The other thing is, and I'm preaching to the choir, you've got to be relentless. We started legislative efforts in 2006. We got the word dyslexia into the law, and then I sat in meetings where people just talked, and finally I said, I can't do this anymore because we're not moving forward. But here we are again. I'm about to go back to the State Department and say, what are we going to do with these kids that are going to get dumped into special ed because because it looks like they're failing in reading and we don't have teachers prepared. So here I am how many years later, and I'm so much better prepared, and each of us will be, because this is a long-term project. So I would say very excited that we really are doing the right things. The other thing is we did a small IDA survey, and it also demonstrated that the interest right now is really, really large. being this weekend at the Dyslexia and Talent Conference, the interest is really, really large. We just need to get everybody on Stewart's train because if we're not on the train, what starts to happen is somebody goes and visits the right person with the wrong message, and then when we come in the door, we're challenged to A, get time, B, get attention, and C, do the right thing for kids. So, and that's a political issue. How do we deal with those people? So all in all, I would say we're in the right time, at the right place to really create change. And I think that with the tools that we have through Literate Nation, I don't want to pitch our tools, but I'm like blown away. I mean, I can't write legislation, but I'll tell you what, when my cohort looked at me and said, honey, this is on you, I know nothing about it, I just said, send me those pages. And I literally cut and pasted. And that was what, and I knew enough to know the difference between may and shall, and that was all. Because I knew if I put shall in there, it would get 86. So that was, yeah, absolutely.
It's the first time I've heard this, everyone. I'm going to go word search, shout out.
Well, in government documents, if it's that you shall, that means you have no choice but then too. If you may, that means if you know.
Ellen, I get that.
Okay. Thank you, honey.
Can we just form a commission?
Yeah, and study it for about the next 5 years. And we were offered data on dyslexia, and I was like, oh, so we're going to sit in rooms for the next 6 months talking about this. The other validation we got was from the EdPulse Educator Focus Group. And it really relates to what is part of the literacy law handbook that Literate Nation has put together. And I think it just speaks so strongly to what those of us in this room know. And fortunately, again, we can implement that and we can speak to these issues relatively easily. And one of the things in our little boot camp, not in our boot camp, but in our beta test, was the first conversation we had with Alaska is, what's important in your state? Let's talk and let's figure out what is doable. And I think that's why with a lot of states we've ended up California. We had a lengthy conversation about what's going to pass and what's going to get funded. And the issue isn't necessarily what's going to get passed, but what's going to get funded. And preschool literacy is a really hot topic. K-3 literacy is a really hot topic. And there are ways to find money for it. And if you've got a really creative legislator like Michael Johnson in Colorado is, he found money for it. So those are some really interesting ways in the door. And I think that, our dyslexia contingent, I'm a dyslexia contingent. I mean, I'm a family of dyslexics. I've got a kid that reads below the 5th percentile in fluency. But you know what? If all kids get taught well, then my child will get taught well. So that's the conversation I have with those of them that are convinced dyslexia is the root. Because there's not a lot of money for dyslexia, but there sure is for entering the workplace, which is another partnership that we've developed with manufacturing and other industries. It's critical these kids get these skills. And if we start talking about workplace, if we start talking about increasing jobs, if we start talking about all of those critical issues that get those legislators' attentions, that get that school board's attention, that get those employers' attention, then we're going to create change and we're going to have money to find it. So I'm just really thrilled with the direction we've gone and the direction we're going to be going. Questions, answers? Oh.
Do you want to go back?
Should we keep going through the others
Yeah.
next? And then we'll have a free-flowing conversation.
Go to the next one.
Next in the batting order here, I forgot.
So I think this is my last. I have one
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't looking down there. So really what we've been able to develop, again, we did the beta with Posey in Alaska, we've worked with Philadelphia, and we've been on calls with California. And right now we're looking at how to really be even more effective in the future. The concept of web boundaries is one where you can click online and get it, but it's more engaging than just reading the PowerPoint. But we can put clips in here from that. We can get clips from other sources. All of you be resources for that. We're right now in the process of looking at developing a PSA and we did the movie. Did y'all see what was the title of the movie? I apologize. The title of it.
Dyslexia, the story.
Facing the Frightening Facts. Have you seen that on our website?
Yes.
That was the first movie. This one took on a new career. And it's God knows how many
Another
hours.
one.
Yeah, it's like, and that's how see, the other thing about this, do you understand the side benefit for a lot of us who are edging up over 50? I actually turned 31 April 10th, because that's what my kids decided, that 31 was my age, so I went with it. But anyway, as we're edging up over 50, every time we take on these new projects, we stimulate our brain, right? My friend Anita Archer, who I adore, carries a cello everywhere she goes because she wants to. So we just keep doing this and trying new software. I think some of the big gifts that we bring is that we've been so collaborative, and our intention is to grow our family of collaborators, that we can bring in expert testimonies, that we can bring in the kind of qualitative data that's essential, and that, even the little blueprints, the flyer that we sent around, that can be regenerated and targeted to your group. And then the biggest and best thing is the blueprint, which Cynthia's going to talk about later. And it's an invaluable tool so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I think that perhaps for me is the biggest thing is I've got, not only do I have my partners who have expertise in my state, but I've got a whole organization that's got my back. So very, very exciting. I'm going to pass out those blueprints, okay?